Okay, so I had promised everybody a little bit of inspiration and some of the things that I've been thinking about to kind of help you guys keep going. So here they are. It's maybe a little rambly. We'll see how it goes. But I wanted to start off with a couple of memes. So first we have from The Wizard of Oz, we have, how we all imagined homeschooling, right? I remember when they announced the school closure and people were really excited and jumping up and down, and this is going to be awesome. And now 2 months in, we're kind of faced with the reality. And then we have this meme was actually like how we feel about coronavirus memes as the weeks go on, right? So we've got Kanye West here kind of helping us out, where in February they're kind of funny and then they started to get less funny, and kind of by now we're like, ugh, I'm kind of done with this. But I really wanted to start with this because I did want to acknowledge, and some of you have heard me say this a couple times now, that we all agree, like, this, to be honest, kind of sucks. Nobody really likes working like this and living like this and learning like this. And some of us do better with uncertainty than others, but humans are kind of hardwired to like to know how things are going to happen. We plan things. Some of us write things down so that we remember to do them. We like things that we can count on. And so it's really okay to be really bothered by all the uncertainty. You're absolutely not alone. There's lots and lots of people out there who don't really handle uncertainty well, and that's totally okay. But I think the reality is we may be doing this a while. It would be nice if after the summer we could all go back to school as usual, but with every passing day that is less and less likely. And so at the same time that we're saying, yes, this sucks and this is not as fun as I thought it was going to be, and I just want to go back to my regular life, we do need to find strategies to keep going in this for what could be quite a while. So that's what this little PowerPoint is all about. So I thought I would start by showing you, and as I had promised, a yearbook photo of me on my swim team sophomore year. So there were only 10 of us on this swim team. It was not a really small high school, but it wasn't a school where there was a real strong swim team. That's me with the blue circle right there. Sophomore year, my mom saw this picture this weekend and she felt the need to say, oh yeah, that's you with bangs. I never liked you with bangs. So thanks, Mom. That was real encouraging. You can see some of the early 90s hair. We had a lot of hair in the early 90s. It's amazing some of us managed to get all this hair to fit under swim caps, but we all did it. And this was a really interesting year because I had been swimming for a couple of years, and then I joined my high school swim team. And this swim team, even though we were small, we were really dedicated. So we swam twice a day during the high school swim season. We were at school at 6 in the morning. We actually had a pool in our school. It was down in the basement. For those of you who know swimming, it was only a 20-yard pool. So like when you'd have a race that was 100 yards, you'd have to do 5 lengths instead of 4. For relay races, it made it a little weird because we had to like line up on different sides of the pool. But we would go and we would swim every morning at 6 in the morning. And then after school, we would meet again and we would swim again for a couple of hours in the afternoon. And not surprisingly, my times went down, right? I met a lot of records that season because I was swimming so much. Well, then the high school swim season ended and I went back I swam for a YMCA team, and it's a little different than it is now. We would actually have meets every week against other YMCAs in the region. And the rule, though, was that you had to swim at least 3 days a week in order to compete in a meet. You could swim 5, but you had to swim at least 3. So I, being, the somewhat lazy person that I am, swam 3 days a week. If that's what I have to do to swim in a meet, fine, that's what I'll do. And not surprisingly, my time stopped going down because I had gone from swimming 10 times a week to swimming 3 times a week. And I remember after a race kind of saying that to my coach. I was really frustrated. And of course I was, like 15. So, I wasn't making the connection on my own. And I was like, I don't understand. During high school season, my times were so good and now they're not. And he was really great because he didn't sugarcoat it at all. He said, how many hours were you swimming a week when you swam for high school? And now you're only showing up to practice for us 3 times a week. Of course your times aren't getting any better. If you really want your times to get better, you've got to put in more work. And what do you expect? And I thought that was really great that he said that. Now, I didn't actually do anything about that. I didn't start going to practice more times a week. I still went 3 times a week. But this was over 30 years ago, and I still remember this conversation with him. And it really, that conversation alone made a difference. But it wasn't until college. I went to a Division I school. There was no way we had Olympians who went, like Olympic swimmers who went to my school. So there was no way I was going to swim in college. But I realized that I felt better when I would go and swim a couple times a week. I'm still pretty lazy. I would much rather sit on the couch and read than go out and go for a swim or go for a run. But I really discovered in college that I need to do these things for myself, that my body feels better. Mentally, I feel better. When I get out of a swim workout that I've made for myself, I feel more clear-headed. And it took me, as I said, until I was like probably 20 years old to realize that. And even so, even now, at 45, there are days when I'm like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I'm like, you know what? Go for a run. Go for a walk. Obviously, these days, I'm not going for a swim. I know some people are swimming in Lake Washington, but I'm not doing that. But I think what's really important about this story is that that's how some of you have been with education, that you've been chasing grades, that you've been doing these as things you see required to get a grade. And that's not what education's about. Education shouldn't be about chasing grades. It should be about chasing learning. And some of you are really struggling now because the grades aren't there. And so I know some of you are like, well, then what am I doing this for? It was never about grades. It was always about learning. And sort of the way I found that I know I am better when I swim or even run or go for a bike. You guys are better when you keep learning. So this is Malala. A lot of you have read her book. Malala is famous for fighting for women's education around the world, so much so that she was actually shot by the Taliban. They wanted to kill her because she fought for education for girls around the world. And as I've grown up, I've met a lot of people who did not get an education for any number of reasons, or didn't get enough of an education for a number of reasons. And not one of them, and I think Malala would agree, this isn't what she was fighting for. Nobody ever says, gosh, I just wish I had gotten educated because what I've really missed out on is getting a GPA. My life would be better if I could look back and say, wow, in high school, I got a 3.6. Wasn't that amazing? Nobody says that. People who don't get the kind of education that other people get talk about things like missing out on helping their communities and their families in a career of their choice. They say things like, I really wish I could have become a doctor so that I could have helped my community, but I wasn't able to get that kind of education. Or I really wanted to become a scientist so that I could do this, but I wasn't able to get that education. And you guys still have that opportunity. The opportunity to be educated is still there. What's not there right now is what a certain number means on a certain transcript. And that's okay, because that's almost like when I kind of discovered swimming in college for myself. You now have that opportunity now to discover what education means without worrying about what the number means or what the letter grade means. And that this whole idea of education is about something more. It's about something greater. Earlier this year, we all watched the movie The Science Fair, right? And some of you remember this guy, Robby, right? Robby's the guy who Barely made it through high school math, but he's been to the International Science Fair 3 times because he really enjoys learning, and he's very passionate about it. And he does all this stuff with machine learning. And Robby says at the end, right before they're about to announce the awards, he has a quote that says something like, if you're doing science fair for the awards or for the prizes, you're missing the point of science fair, right? That's not the point. The point is to meet these people who are interested in the stuff you're interested in, to pursue a passion, to really learn something deeply, right? He's not in a class doing this. He does this on his own. And I think that, again, that's what all of your teachers want for you, to be able to give you those opportunities to keep learning, even if it's not the same kind of learning. But it's up to you to pick up those opportunities and kind of go with them. So I have 6 kind of little suggestions for you, especially those of you who are having a really hard time now. Make a schedule. Most people, students, kids, adults, work better with a schedule. One of the fastest ways to kind of let yourself unravel is if you start saying, well, I'm not in school, so I can stay up every night until 2 in the morning and then sleep till noon, and then make a schedule. Remember, we are still in school. This is not break yet. Get dressed. Some of us have been in pajamas for 2 months. Get dressed, brush your teeth, brush your hair in the morning. Act as if you are going to school. Work from someplace other than your bed. It's possible your bedroom is the quietest place, and that's great. But get up out of bed. Let your bed be the place where you rest and you relax. Know that you're not alone. This, like I said, I have not met one person who's like, this is the most awesome way to live, and I hope we do this for the rest of our lives. I'm sure there are some people out there. But most people are feeling this way. And so ask for help when you need it. You've got a lot of sympathy out there. And the most important thing is keep trying and keep moving forward. I keep hoping that by the end of, so like in a year, by the end of next school year, things will start to feel back to normal. But in the meantime, we've got to keep moving forward. If it's really hard if you spend the next year staying up till 2 in the morning and getting up at noon, or, not being able to engage with the schoolwork around you. That's going to be a really, really hard year. Just keep trying and keep moving forward. And then, when it gets really tough, just think of this little baby with his fistful of sand thinking, I've got this. Or he's possibly thinking, I need to poop. One of the two, but he's very passionate about it. You can see from his face. So those are kind of my thoughts. I really hope that, you guys can hang in there and keep moving forward, and let me know if there are things I can do to help support you during this time. Have a really good day.